Hey, good morning. Back with another video. It is 10:58 a.m. It's Saturday morning. It's November 20th, and I am up and ready to go. I'm going to be going to the grocery store a little bit later, preparing at the last minute for Thanksgiving, which I think is kind of shameful because usually I'm like way ahead of, you know, schedule, but this year I was just kind of like really kind of chugging along. So far, today's a good day. I decided to get up and start cleaning the house first thing in the morning. It's got my laundry going, and I was thinking about a few things in my mind because as I try to fall asleep tonight, every night. Like last night, I was trying to get some sleep, and some things were kind of swirling around in my mind. And to be honest with you, they've been swirling around in my mind for the last 2 weeks. These things that I need to get kind of closed. I need closure is what I need. So I'm going to be throwing out some stuff in this video, and I think it's kind of important. So I did want to talk about, what I've been up to. I'm planning on moving, looking for a different place to live. I'm getting a little cramped in my apartment. I have tried really as much as I could to try to, get by because rent, I'm a person who loves cheap rent. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I moved to Bakersfield because I knew the rent was cheap. Okay, and but I'm in a little apartment with my son here, and I have bought space saving type things. I have bought shoe racks. I have bought things like this to try to make space and stuff like that. But it gets to the point where it just gets a little ridiculous. Now I don't have a bunch of stuff. I consider myself somewhat of a minimalist. Like I only have like my bed, basic furniture, couch, coffee table, just basic stuff. Okay, but it's getting a little overcrowded, so I'm looking for another place. In the meantime, I'm kind of going crazy because I feel like I'm just kind of crammed in. Where I'm sitting right now in my desk, like right next to me is the edge of my bed, and then right here is a space saver. So you can just imagine, I feel like I'm pressed to the wall. I mean, I really don't have any space, so it's kind of driving me a little crazy. If you probably noticed, I got a new hat and I love it. I don't really wear wigs on my time off. I like to do things with my hair to make it look presentable for work. So on the weekends, I just pretty much wear hats. This is a new one, and I have gotten my clothes obsession out of my system because I felt as though I was off of work for a long time. I did need some new sweaters. I got some new sweaters. This is not a new sweater, actually. It is new to me, but I bought it last year at a thrift store, and it was like $1 or something. And I fell in love with it. So I washed it right away. This is the first time I'm actually wearing it. And I figured, okay, I'm going to wear this today. So yeah, this is my hair, and I know it looks kind of ratty, but it is. It's pretty ratty, and I think you can understand why I choose to wear wigs, especially since I have some hair that has like patches in the back that are kind of like little just blank patches. So it's just easier for me to wear wigs, and this hair is just really been through it. So anyway, I wanted to talk about uh, my son's father. This whole issue has been kind of swirling around in my mind, and I know that my family has been bullying me since I was a kid, and I know that going back from to elementary school before I even knew my son's father, that there was always bullying going on. So I do believe that what happened over at the farmer's place, that my son's father, who I really haven't spoken to in years, um, had more to do with this recent issue than than I was led to believe. I know that when you're a victim of human trafficking or gang stalking, everybody is involved because what it is, it's an invasion of your privacy. So everybody that you knew, or everybody that you might be in contact or possibly could be in contact, they get all these people together and they literally just beat up on a person. And I do believe that my son's father had more to do with this, as not just my son's father, my son's father's family had more to do with my targeting than than originally suspected, which I think they may have had something to do with the girl at the farmer's place and all this other stuff. And it was clearly a racist attack. And this is what I wanted to talk about is that, I don't want to have, I do respect the fact that my son chooses to have a relationship with my with his father. Okay, that was not something that I had initially wanted to do, because I realized, I was really young when I got together with my son's father. I think it was 18 or 19. I mean, I was young, okay? As a matter of fact, he was my first boyfriend ever. And, and I didn't really understand the issues, the serious issues that were involved in relationships in general, or let alone interracial relationships. And as I got older, well, actually, I wouldn't say older, but as the time progressed, I realized that when I was pregnant, that it was not in my best interest, and possibly not even in my son's best interest, to get married to my son's father. So I gave him his ring back, and I chose to trudge this road alone. And I was young enough and spirited enough to believe in myself and my potential, and I really believed that I would be fine on my own. So that was my choice, not to marry him. So I do believe that, and I do believe that my son has a right to have a relationship with his father, okay? And I would never do anything to stand in my son's way of having a relationship with his father, or his relatives on that side of his family. That's something that, even though I personally think that there's something that he needs to be concerned about, or at least be careful about. And the reason why I say this is that even though white people might have a person of color in their family, there's a lot of things that they can do that could be very damaging to a person of color. I would like to say that white people in this country, especially in this country, okay, have been socially conditioned since they came out of the womb, to have a sort of sense of entitlement, and I would even go so far to say, a hatred for people of color. And don't let the fact that somebody might be in an interracial relationship throw you off and think, well, this person, they're kind and they're accepting towards people of color. They might be on the surface. There's a lot of things that people don't understand, because it's a very complex issue. There's a lot of white men who find women of color very attractive or whatever, and there's a lot of white men who kind of fetishize black women. It's more like a sexual fantasy or whatever, but it's not something that they would actually love. Is a very rare thing anyway, whether they're in a relationship with someone of their own race, or someone in a different racial background. I had noticed when I was with my son's father that his family would say a lot of things that were kind of thoughtless, and I kept thinking this could have a negative impact on my son's self-esteem, and I needed to be careful. So that was my choice, not to marry my ex. I don't even like to say ex. My son's father, and that's one of the reasons why I chose not to. Okay, I think that his family kind of came out of the blue and intervened in my life a little bit. And for the sake of my son, and only for the sake of my son, I think it's better to just let it go, because my son means the world to me. He's the only thing in this world that I care about. And his mental health, my mental health, I know that I've gone through a lot, and I'm surprised that I'm still standing and functioning. Of course, I have a very strong sense of self, and I'm able to deal with things more than the average person. That's one of the reasons why, when this whole town I felt was against me, I was able to stand up for myself. I have a tremendous strength, okay? But I think there's a lot that I have inside of me that my son doesn't have, okay? And he could have inherited it from his father. And I don't think that he has that ability to have the kind of endurance that I have when it comes to people who are basically bullying them or whatever. So I want my son to have relationships, and I want him to obviously he must find some sort of emotional fulfillment within this family structure that he has with his father and his blood relations. I will never prevent my son from having that. But I do resent the fact that I think I have never gone out of my way to make any contact with my son's family on that particular side. And I do believe that this was a racist attack on their part, which, this is something that my son really needs to look at and think about, okay? And I'm not saying that that should destroy his relationship with them, but he needs to understand that white people are going to harbor racist views inside of them. This is something that some of it, they might even be like shocked at their own behavior. I've dealt with white people before who've come to realize, they don't realize what they're doing is racist. They think that they're good, citizens. They think that they're, it's okay for, they think it's okay to, for black people to exist, but they don't understand the oppressive behavior or the oppressive type of obstacles that they throw in people of color's way. And they're not fully even aware of it. They have like contradictory thoughts that go on in their head, and they play out these actions in their behavior. And this is something that people need to be aware of. And I think if people are aware of it, and when they do become aware of it, they go into the whole cognitive dissonance kicks in, and they go into denial about it, and they want to change the subject, and they want to avoid it. This is one of the biggest issues that prevent white people and black people from really coming to understand each other. I am not promoting the coming together or whatever. I'm just saying is we have to exist on this planet. And so this is what I try to do. I'm trying to get by in my life, I'm trying to get by in my life, and I do understand that people have these bizarre behavior, beliefs, and they do have contradictory thoughts, and they do enact abuses towards people of color. What I experienced was an abuse. When people are aware of their privileges, white people are aware of their privileges and enact and use their privilege to cause a hardship to a person of color, then that is a statement that you can't really ignore, and I can't ignore that either. But that's not to say that I'm going to prevent this. This is something I think should give my son a sense of strength that it should. I think when it comes to biracial people are in a very unique position, and the reason why is because they're able to see both worlds. And they can see the injustices, and they can see the imbalances in it, and that I'm hoping that this will give him more of a peaceful outlook on the world, and that he will always stay neutral within this war that goes on with the world. I personally feel that I'm a human being. My skin is brown. My hair is kinky, my hair, whatever. I'm a black woman, but I don't live my life like my color is going to limit me or make me feel like I'm not able to do certain things. This is my life, okay? And I think that, but I understand that the world puts these boundaries, sets up these boundaries or these obstacles for me, and I'm very much aware of them, but I don't let myself think that I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to think this, I can't be this, I can't do these sort of things just because I'm black. And I don't appreciate people who try to set limits on me and then expect me to be their friend or be okay with it. You know what I mean? This is where I draw the line. I've dealt with racism pretty much all my life. And I was thinking about how programmed I was when I was a kid, even though I knew that some of the things I saw on TV were unrealistic. And I understand that, but you do, like you watch after school specials. I think that those ABC after school specials were some of the biggest forms of mind control that were taught to people of my age. I would especially say in the 70s, because they had portrayed a fully integrated society where racism didn't exist. You'll see on TV shows where black people and white people intermingle and they get along fine. I never thought that there was really any racism. I thought that was something that existed in my father's time. You know what I mean? I thought it was something that really didn't. It wasn't. It didn't play an important role in my life. But then as I got to be older, I realized this is the platform that we live on. This is the whole world revolves around, at least the United States does, revolves around white supremacy. And I'm a living proof of this. If you can get blacklisted for your hair issues, if somebody can try to tell you or try to inflict their will and impose your will and then get other people to do it, to a person of color, or try to say that what you do is eccentric or bizarre because it doesn't align with white ideals, then that's white supremacy, okay? And so I've had to deal with things that my son has not had to deal with. And, but I do want him to take note of it and realize that this is the way that things are. And I think I don't want this to ruin his relationship with. He needs people in his life. I should not be the only person in his life, and thank God I'm not. But I also think that he should understand that along with white people comes their prejudice, and it's one thing to be prejudiced, but when you enact or you inflict harm on a person, that's outright racist. Okay, and then he has to come to that realization. Yes, his father who produced him is a racist. And I do understand that. Now, I will say that, when I was dating his father, I would go and I would spend time with his little sister, which I thought she was really nice. I liked her, okay? But apparently she does exist, that racism does exist in her, because I do believe that she played a role in this as well. You know what I mean? So I've had my disappointments with people. I've had put my faith in people. I've trusted people. I've been betrayed by people. I've been let down by people, and it's given me a stronger character. If anything, and my behavior is not, and the very fact that they thought that my behavior or my resistance to their form of mind control or bullying I get the feeling that they thought it was a form of disobedience, and the very fact that they thought that I was being disobedient or not respecting authority is because they're white and they think that I'm supposed to listen to them. I don't have any obligation to you whatsoever. And for that matter, neither does my son. He doesn't have any obligation to yours. Bruce's name is not on the birth certificate, and I left it off for a reason. I know when I got pregnant, my mother was like, oh, that's, their grandchild too, and blah, 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 blah. And you're right, that he is. He is their grandson. And, now that they know him, which I think they're blessed to know him, he is a great kid. He's got his little flaws. You probably know that he's a lot like his dad in ways. Like, he looks like his dad. There's certain things that he does that's a lot like his dad. He obviously is a product of his dad. But that was not something that I wanted to promote. I never wanted him to, really, I wanted to tell him that, just not kind of blot out the whole dad thing and just kind of continue moving on. But there were times where, Bruce did come by, and then I was just accepting of it, whatever. But I was concerned about the kind of influence. I was definitely concerned about the sort of influence that he would have on my son, because I don't believe in racism. I do believe it exists, okay, but I don't believe in white people feeling this sense of entitlement, and even worse, enacting their so-called entitlement on me, especially under those circumstances. So, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be the bigger person in all this, And anyway, I'm going to be the bigger person in all this, and I'm going to let things form as they will. I'm not saying that these people were all bad. They weren't. I thought there were certain things that I liked about my Bruce's family. But like I said, you have to be very careful. When I interact with white people, I have to be very careful about it, because like I said, white people will start thinking that they have a sense of entitlement, and they don't know exactly where it comes from. They'll start telling you what to do, expecting you to do what they want you to do, and they can be very forceful in doing it. Okay? And then you have to remind them, you have to define and let them know, hey, you know what you're doing? You're being racist. They think if they're not burning a cross on your yard, that they're okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay to tell people how to live, how to dress, how they're supposed to wear their hair, and then try to, prevent them from having friendships, relationships, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if maybe they thought that I was interested in resuming a relationship with my with my son's father or not. That never crossed my mind. As far as I know, I thought my son's father was married. I think he got married a little bit before we left Bakersfield the first time. So I would never, besides that, I never tried to pursue a relationship with Bruce after we split up. So I don't know, I don't know. I think maybe they might have thought that, because I did post a video. I was really into the summer of 2008, 2009. I was really into watching reruns of Dark Shadows, okay? And I love that show, and I was becoming more and more obsessed with it because I had seen it as a kid, and I really enjoyed that show. So, and there's times I have a very weird sense of humor. So I remember posting I'm making a little video of my Dora doll, who was about this big. She's like about 6 inches or something. And I made this little video of Dora, and I couldn't think of a name, so I named her after Barnabas Collins on the Dark Shadows, because I couldn't think of a last name. As a matter of fact, when you watch the Dora the Explorer cartoon, I don't think Dora has I don't think Dora has a last name. So I was like, okay, I was just basically pulling a name out of my ass. That's why I called her Dora Collins. And I did put it on my Facebook because I thought I was actually kind of proud of that little production because it was, kind of quirky and kind of funny. So I put it on. I was going to make more videos, but then my life started falling apart because of all the bullshit that was going on. So I just stopped making videos, but on that anyway. But yeah, so what happened with that is they might have saw that video and kept thinking, she named it Collins. No, I was naming it after Barnabas Collins. Seriously, it was. But no, I had no intentions of ever getting back together with my son's father. Would, if I was to see him, I would see him in a different light. Like I would think, like you're a total fucking racist dirtbag if I was to see you in real life. But I would keep the peace because it's important to my son. We choke back a lot of stuff when you are a parent and you want your son to have people in his life, even though that's not my choice. It is not my choice. Like I think about how my son's almost 30 years old and he has to make decisions for himself. And if he finds emotional fulfillment within that family structure, then he has the right to pursue that. I will never interfere with that. I won't do that. Okay. But he needs to be also remember that that side of the family is a white family. Okay. And they can do and they can say things that could be very destructive, not just to me, but it could be destructive to my son's self-esteem. At the end of the day, my son is half of me. You know what I mean? And how you treat his mother has to have an impact on what happened. Okay. And so, yes, do I look at these people as racist? Yes. Do I forgive it? Not really. Not really. But at the same time, I have to think about the emotional welfare of my son. Now, I wanted to make this video about mental health. I think I'm doing a lot better. I have been more focused on my day-to-day routines. Today, I plan on doing a YouTube tutorial. I'm hoping to finish my video this weekend on ESP. Oh yeah, I also wanted to bring up the issue that I think maybe I don't know if they are, my son's father's family is still associated with Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't study with Jehovah's Witnesses anymore, and my reason for not studying with Jehovah's Witnesses is because I do even in high school when I was studying with Jehovah's Witnesses throughout the entire time, I knew that Jehovah's Witnesses did have a background that was questionable to me, especially when you start looking into the history of Charles Taze Russell, who was the founder of the Jehovah's Witness religion and the Watchtower and Tract Society. If you do your research, which I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are prevented from doing the research because that's one of the reasons why, or one of the methods that cults or religions keep their structure together is to forbid members to look outside and gather information outside of the Watchtower Tract Society. But Charles Taze Russell was very much influenced by Masonry, just as much as Joseph Smith and Ellen White. Joseph Smith is the guy who created the Mormon religion. Ellen White was the person who started the Seventh-day Adventists. These people during that time period, okay, around the late 1800s or early 1900s, Freemasonry and people were cropping up with all kinds of different versions of Christianity, and Charles Taze Russell was no different. As a matter of fact, if you look at Charles Taze Russell's gravestone, you'll see that there's like a lot of masonry symbols. He's got it's like a pyramid and whatever. So I don't disrespect Jehovah's Witnesses. I have a lot of respect for the members, at least. Okay, I don't think that I have any respect for the Watchtower and Tract Society. I do respect some of the people, the members, because a lot of them try very hard to live a good life. They want to, like me, when I was younger, I wanted a blueprint I wanted to live a good, wholesome life. Since I was a kid, I wanted to do that, okay? I wanted to find a pathway of doing that. I used to see some people who went in a bad path, and I kept thinking, how can I avoid that? I don't want to be like that. And I always knew that I wanted to have a very spiritual life. And so there's people who seek that, and they go to certain organizations, and some people have ventured into the Watchtower and Tract Society, and they choose to follow the guidance of this structure system. And for the people who did, like for example, I used to know Amanda Scott, and Amanda did everything she could to try to live a good life, and she followed that religion for all her life, and I respected her for that, you know. But that doesn't mean that that foundation didn't have its forms of corruption inside of it. You know, even to this day, there's issues with the Watchtower and Tract Society. So that's my choice of leaving. You know, and maybe they wanted to convert me so that I could go back to my son's father. I don't know. But I'm not Jehovah's Witness. I do have respect for Jehovah's Witnesses because, like I said, the members strive very hard to adhere to what their interpretation of is in the Bible. They do what they can to at least make an effort, okay? But as far as the main source, the organization within itself, I have no respect for, and I will not have it in my life, period. So anyway, back to mental health. I'm doing okay. I'm planning on picking up some projects here. I'm trying to clear the air. I think what my brain really wants is closure. Now, I feel as though the people who basically caused this problem, this ruckus in my life, and then left me to shoulder the burden and try to pick myself back up, it was a very hurtful thing to do, a very painful thing to do. And I feel as though if they really gave a shit, then they would have apologized, and not apologize, you know, in an indirect way. If they really gave a shit, then they would apologize sincerely from the bottom of their heart in person, okay? And and I really think that would be the most appropriate thing to do, okay? But you know, you start to understand people, and you start to see that people choose their scapegoats in life. And I felt like I was scapegoated a lot in my life, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so leery of people. You know, people have abused me throughout my entire life. You know, like, you know, my family thought that something was wrong with me when I was a kid. They didn't understand why I was so peculiar, blah, 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 blah. They didn't understand the whole, and I do understand, I get that part, okay? But you would think that your quirkiness and your differences, if they thought that something was wrong with me, that they would be protective of me and caring of me. No, they basically exploited me and bullied me. Okay, and that is when you really start to think about what people do and how they don't care about other people, how they are willing to abuse somebody that they perceive to be a little mentally off. You realize that there's very little love in this world, you know, and I'm very much aware of that. And when I was growing up, like I said, I want to talk a little bit more about programming. You know, growing up watching TV shows and watching people, this ideal version of how the world works, how the social platform works, how marriage works. You know, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get married because it was like the way they portrayed it was you're going to get into this family unit and you're going to have kids and they're going to love you and they're going to be obedient and they're going to and you're going to bake cookies all the time and you're going to have this husband that's extremely like, you know, emotional fulfillment is what you're going to get out of this marriage. And no, it's not. The majority of relationships in general, including marriage, have very little to do with emotional fulfillment. There's a lot of exploitation. There's a lot of abuse out there. And this is something that, you know, people's heads are in cloud because they really think that this is how it is, you know. And I remember telling somebody this when I got in my 30s. Because she was in her 40s when she and I had this conversation. Actually, I was in my late 20s when I started waking up. It's like, this is some serious bullshit, okay? All of this shit's bullshit. And I was talking to this lady. I was like 27 maybe, and she was in her 40s. And I said, you know, I used to think that was how it was. And then she told me her story. This is a white lady. She said she was so in love and she put her husband through school and she did all this. And he took everything, including her kids, and left her basically with no place to go. And I was like, yeah, you know, I think this bubble that we get put into, and all of these things contribute to our downfall. It's like it literally sets you up for failure. These TV shows that show these happy families, these stupid fairy tales that tell you, or at least Disney's version of the fairy tales. And I know this sounds stupid. It does. It sounds very stupid. You're like, you can't really possibly believe, but it gets reinforced everywhere you go. You know what I mean? It gets reinforced through like TV. It gets reinforced in stories, the books that people read. It gets in, of course, I was never into romance, okay, but still, like, I literally thought that love was based on these things. And believe me, I love music. Like, I love so some of the musicians that I grew up listening to. Not just, I mean, I love rock, okay, but rock is not so much about love songs, but like I was just watching a documentary on Nat Cole. Okay, I grew up. Actually, one of the first songs I remember learning was a Nat King Cole song, and I love Nat King Cole. But you listen to lyrics of music, okay, especially like late 50s, early 60s. The music, the lyrics really make you think that this is what love is about. It's all about emotional fulfillment. It's all about, this joy, and families are about two people who love and fulfill each other emotionally, and you produce this offspring, and it's just all love, 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 love. And this is just more enforcement of mind control. I really do. I really do believe that it's mind control, because there's nothing on the outside in my life or in anyone's life that I haven't been able to observe that validates any of that. In fact, I've just only seen the opposite. I've only seen abusive relationships in some form or another, So, and so you're probably thinking, well, what didn't you think about your family? I thought my family was I knew my family was dysfunctional. Okay, I knew it. Okay, but I kept thinking that somehow we weren't the norm. Like there was something better out there. It's like, no, this is the way the shit is. Okay, this is how it is, and so I decided to take another path in life. And no, I'm not like disappointed or whatever. I feel as though if I wanted a relationship, I would choose a sexual relationship. I'm not a very sexual person, but if that was the kind of relationship that I was going to go into, then I would have just that. I'm not looking for somebody who's going to fulfill me emotionally. In this world, we're the only ones who can do that. No one can fill me emotionally, okay, except for me. So what I do is I get like my stuffed animals and my things that I find that are cute and lovable, or I throw myself into a hobby or whatever. And no, my stuffed animals cannot love me back, okay? But they do, and I think, what was it? They talked about kawaii. I think these Asian people are really into these little cute characters. No, they don't talk back. They don't love you back, okay? But what it invokes a positive feeling inside of you. And it's a very joyful one. And this is what you do. You surround yourself with the things that bring you joy. And those little things are very cute, and they make me happy. I don't expect people to fulfill me emotionally. You know what I mean? And that's not what marriage is about. Marriage is an institution, and a lot of it becomes abusive, and so this is what I think people think, that now that I've grown up, I have a different view on life. And yes, I do. I do have a different view on life. And I think I'm glad that I do, because growing up with those little romantic ideas in our minds, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting yourself up for abuse. You know what I mean? And looking back on a lot of the girls that I knew from high school who had little relationships and whatever, they too were, the reason why they were so shattered, emotional, and sad when that thing didn't work out is because back in their mind, they were thinking the same thing. They were thinking the same thing. Like, you think, well, if I care about you and I do these things for you and I put all this effort into it, this plus this means I'm going to be emotionally fulfilled. You're going to care about me back, right? No, it doesn't. This is we live in an exploitative world, like, where people just literally abuse one another. And that is a part of the hell that we live in. We do live in a platform of hell, And so the only way, you can't completely escape it, but the only way you can do it, or at least, exist within it, is to love yourself. Because you're the only person who can love yourself and the way that you want to be loved, And I think I do a pretty good job of it. I do. I love myself a lot. I take pride, not outwardly, but I take pride in who I am. I like who I am. And when I hear of people who expect me to live differently than how I am, then I'm like, no, and then get forceful about it. Oh God, no, you don't do that. And that's not to say that I wouldn't have white friends, because I would have white friends. I know when I used to see Bruce's little sister, I enjoyed spending time with her. I remember she used to like kid toys too. I had this little like mail postal system, and it was really fun. And when Houston was little, I love stuff like that. Yeah, I do. I'm quirky like that. I think, and I like being around little kids. That doesn't mean I want one. I would be very happy to maybe be a little friend or to a kid, like, or maybe even babysit kids or whatever, because I enjoy their world. I do. I enjoy their world. But I'm 50 years old, okay, and I'm certainly, I try to get enough energy, or try to be as active as I possibly can, move around as much as I can. Like I sit down every day at work, okay? So like, I like to walk around and do stuff, but toddlers and stuff like that have a lot of energy. So any more than like maybe babysitting somebody maybe once or twice a week or something, that's about all I can stand. I couldn't do that now, you know what I mean? And plus, the condition of the world is just so bad right now. I couldn't imagine bringing another kid into this world. But I do like and enjoy being around kids. I think their little world is wonderful. And for people who have kids, they should enjoy that time that they have. I know I enjoyed raising my son. It's unfortunate that I was under so much stress raising him. I would have been able to been a better parent had I not always been worried about losing my job, because people were trying to get me out of my job all the time. I could have come home and been in a much better mood. I could have enjoyed my day and experience with my son more. And I think this time that I've been staying with my son, I've been trying to make up for it. I know it's kind of late, really, but I'm very grateful for the time that I do have, to spend time with my son. He's not, able to play peekaboo, hide and seek, or anything like that. Although sometimes, every once in a while, I do try to pull that kind of bullshit on him, because I do have a sense of humor. Okay, but things could have been better. I could have had a better life had I not been around the wrong people. And now that I realize, that I've been basically on a hamster wheel for the last God knows how many years. I've woken up, and I'm very much aware of the abuse, and I'm determined to never let that ever happen again. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I think I said all I wanted to say. Unfortunately, I didn't say it as well. I have a tendency, especially when I'm feeling a little depressed, I do tend to lose my train of thought, because this is what people do when they're not functioning well. When they've been dealing with too much depression, they tend to deviate, or even start thinking about things that they shouldn't be thinking while they're talking. And then this is my biggest issue. So I need to nip a lot of shit in the bud. You know what I mean? And I think why I've been thinking about the issue of my son's father is because, like I said, I do think that they played more of a role in it than I was led to believe. I do think that my family was involved too. I knew though that my mom is very old-fashioned, and she is very, like I mentioned before, she's kind of ignorant, and I'm not trying to say this to put her down. She's just somebody who was fortunate enough. Even though I would say that my parents' relationship was, they argued a lot, there was always some tension going on every once in a while with them. But for the most part, she sheltered. She was provided for by my dad. She didn't ever have to see for herself what it's like to have to work among people who basically could be very abusive. She has no real knowledge of that. So, in her mind, she was like, well, she felt as though a relationship with my son, having a relationship with his father, was right and proper. On the surface, I would say you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. It only makes sense that a person who is related to you by blood, you should have a relationship with that person. Okay. But she doesn't understand all the details. She doesn't understand, and she should understand what racism is, but she doesn't understand she doesn't understand that just because a person has a relationship with a person of color does not mean that they're not a racist. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. They think, well, this interracial relationship, then he can't possibly be prejudiced. Yes, he can. like I said, I knew, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but I knew this one guy. He was basically saying that he really loved Asian women. And the reason why he loved Asian women is because he thought that their vaginas were shaped the other way. And he thought that that was interesting for him to have sex with something. He liked it because he thought it was exotic. Well, he didn't understand that their vaginas are no different than anybody else's. But see, people have these ideas, these preconceived ideas about people of other races. And some people think, man, Marie, you can talk about just about anything. Yes, I can. I feel like I don't know. I just don't care about what I say, especially when I'm talking about the truth. I will just throw it out there because I feel like I don't have anything to lose because I'm telling the truth. So people do have like contradictory ways of thinking. They might think a black woman is extremely beautiful, but they don't want her to be assertive. They don't want her to stand out in the world. They don't want her to have any power. They don't want her to be anything like that. They just want her to be like basically someone they can go to bed with. You know what I mean? And that's how it is with a lot of people. So I don't buy into any of that, and I'm wise enough to not buy into any of that. But as a kid I didn't see anything wrong with it. I just thought, well, America's one big melting pot, and like they portrayed it on TV, like they told us that in school, like they showed us this on these like after school specials and all this other stuff, but really it's not. And if anything, it's a breeding ground for racial tension and a lot of war, and that's pretty much the way it is. And I'm trying to stay out of it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm really going to try to enjoy my day. And next week, we're having a very short work week. A lot of people are having a very short work week. I don't necessarily agree with the origins of Thanksgiving. I know there was a lot of bloodshed, and believe me, my people had nothing to do with it. But I'm always up for some turkey. So I'm going to enjoy my day as much as I possibly can, and I encourage you to do the same. Take care. Bye-bye.